A question that people often ask me is why, as a follower of Messiah, should they celebrate the Jewish holidays, the biblical holidays mentioned in the Torah, the 5 books of Moses? And that is an excellent question, because for 2,000 years, the church has pretty much not taken seriously the biblical holidays, but has substituted Christian holidays for the Jewish holidays. But the biblical holidays are so significant, important, and every believer should understand it. And I want to share with you several reasons why. The first reason goes back to Genesis chapter 1, where it says this, that God put the lights in the firmament of the sky. He put them there to divide between day and night. He put them there for times and for seasons. And the word there for seasons is the word Moadim. It's so significant. I don't believe that term is referring to the 4 seasons of the year, winter, spring, summer, and fall, but Scripture is meant to interpret Scripture. In Leviticus 23, it says this, these are the appointed times of the Lord, and it goes on to list 7 appointed times, 3 spring holidays, 3 fall holidays, and the weekly Sabbath. Those are the appointed times. What's the significance of this? God put the sun and the moon and the stars in the sky, not just for the times and seasons of the year, but literally they are declaring times of worship. Worship is woven into the very fabric of creation itself. All of the heavenly hosts are meant to lead us into worship and connection with Him. I don't know about you, but I think that is amazing, because the very fabric of creation points to the fact that we are called to be worshipers. That's why God put us in the Garden of Eden, not to be workers, but to be worshipers. And the stars and the moon in the sky remind us of that fact. And that is so important, because the word Moadim, can you say Moadim? It comes from the Hebrew word moed, which means appointment. We read about this later on. When Moses would go out to meet with God, he would go to the tent of meeting known as the Ohel Moed, the tent of meeting. So listen, what does this mean? The biblical holidays are appointed times. Just like the tent of meeting was a space and a place where Moses was to connect with God and to hear His voice, God has given us times throughout the year that He wants us to meet Him, that He wants us to have a standing date, a standing appointment throughout all time to connect with Him and to hear His voice. And that is so significant. We live in a busy and hectic world. God says, listen, I never want you to forget to mark these days and make sure you focus not just on the material needs, not just on having fun, but on connecting with me. That's part of the significance of the appointed times, because it doesn't say these are the Jewish holidays. It says these are the Lord's appointed times. They're His times. They're not just times for the Jewish people. They're times for all people. They're not just important for what God did in the past, but as we'll see, they're important for what He is going to do in the future as well. They're not obligations for followers of the Messiah, for Gentile believers. They're not obligations. It's not like you have to do this, or you're in sin if you don't, or you're disobedient. They're not obligations, but they're an invitation. They're an invitation for you to come into your full inheritance, to know and understand the ways of the Lord and the work of Yeshua, because this is the reality. I believe this is what Genesis chapter 1, connected to Leviticus 23, tells us. There are spiritual cycles and seasons in the economy of God that when we understand and come into alignment with those times and seasons, meaning the biblical holidays, there is a wisdom and understanding that is released in our life, and there's a transformative power that changes us. Just like Yeshua celebrated the biblical holidays and the disciples celebrated the biblical holidays, just like Paul celebrated the biblical holidays, when we understand them and we celebrate them, it changes us, it changes our family. It's not something that you have to do. There's a blessing in doing it. I don't know about you, but I want to be blessed. I want as much wisdom and revelation as possible. And when you come into alignment with the times and the seasons, that's what happens in your life. This is just one of many reasons why it is significant for all followers of the Messiah to understand, to study, and to celebrate the biblical holidays. And I want to invite you to journey deeper with us into them.